welcome to Module 2, Lesson 4. And if you thought it was interesting before, then hold on to your socks. In Lesson 3, you described your setting. You closed your eyes and you used your imagination to see as much of your setting as you could see, and then you wrote it all down. And now it's time to make that setting move. And the way we do that, the way we make it move and come alive, is to add some action. You see, at the moment, your setting is static, and that word just means that it doesn't move. Oh, we can see it, it's been described to us, but it isn't alive, and the way to make it come alive is to add action. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Say, for example, there's a red brick farmhouse on top of a hill. To the left is a green tractor. To the right, an oak tree, almost as tall as the house. Now, you can see all that in your imagination, can't you? But imagine I said, coming out of the chimney was a thin trail of white smoke. What happens now? Not only do you see the thin trail of white smoke coming out of the chimney, but you start to feel something about the setting as well. That thin trail of white smoke coming out of the chimney might now tell us that someone is at home. And you might imagine, what does that mean? Does it mean that that person, for example, that's at home is cooking? Or is there a fire on, perhaps because the day is cold? And if the day is cold, see how your imagination starts to paint in other things. Perhaps now, when we look up, the sky's overcast. There's lots of clouds. Maybe it's even raining. You see how adding just a little bit of something adds to the scene and changes it completely? And once we add action, the scene is no longer static, which means without movement. Now it is what we call dynamic. It moves. And because the setting has movement, has come alive, we no longer call it a setting anymore anyway. Now we call it a scene. As soon as we take a setting, maybe add a character, add some action, it becomes a scene. Maybe the opening scene of your story. In the example in your workbook, I've taken the setting that I described and I have added some action to it. Have a look and see how I've done it, and perhaps it will give you some ideas on what you can do when you get to the next page and start to write in some action for yourself. Start small. Don't be too big about it, and you're good to go. So happy daydreaming, and I'll see you in Lesson 5, where we are going to start to play with our characters.